Hey guys, this is Kevin with the Opportunity Channel. This is week 19, sponsored by shopabizop.com. Today, I have my first authors and books that I've been thumbing through for the last while now. Jim Packard and George Campbell, who have written we were just talking off camera about how dog-eared one of these and autographed. Thank you, by the way, for the consistency is the New Currency two-book series. And something I really enjoyed. So I want to talk less on this video. This is not about a business opportunity. This is about an opportunity to help yourself in a really unique way, and one I attached to and adopted very simply. I read this as I was sitting on the beach in one, I don't know, probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then I read it again. And then the third time was probably about 3 hours because I really dug in to more of the meaning that I want you guys to, expound upon. So could you please tell us a little bit about your backgrounds? Jim, you want to go first?
Sure. Why don't I'll give George's background and he can give mine. Does that work for you, George?
Yeah, go.
Okay, because the first time I was introduced to George, I had no idea who he was. My son had asked him to come speak to our team. We were in a network marketing company for greeting cards at the time. And I didn't know what to expect, but I went to the meeting and I'm sitting there and I'm going, my God, this guy is good. He's funny. And he was doing a program called Joe Malarkey, America's Worst Motivational Speaker. And I didn't know that he was in the Speakers Hall of Fame, which only 2% of all speakers are in. I didn't know that he had been a stand-up comic for 10 years with Jerry Seinfeld and that whole group that came up at the same time, nor did I know that he was on 60 Minutes and To Tell the Truth. And I'm just sitting there listening to him going, this guy is great. This is fabulous. Wouldn't I love to have a person like that on my network marketing team? And little did I know that he would have frustrated me a great deal based on what I've learned about him since then. So with that, that's George Campbell.
Well, I'll introduce Jim. I can't remember the good stuff, Jim, so I'm just going to make up some stuff.
You can make it up. Go ahead.
Jim is the polar opposite of me. We talk in our book about the 80-20 and the Pareto principle, and Jim represents the 20% who have had consistent success throughout their entire lives, whether it was being the best paper boy that signed up the most new subscribers, or all the way up to starting a business with a $500 investment and turning it into a $17 million a year company, which Jim did in Maine, and then retired early. And oddly enough, moved from Maine to Arizona. And I don't get it, but he did. And maybe the weather, who knows? The point is, and retirement, what retirement looks like for Jim is he starts other businesses because that's what he does for fun. So he became, he was distributor of the year in 2 different network marketing businesses, consistent top 10 earner in those companies. And that's where we actually met, is because I was I say I was holding down the other end of the bell curve. Jim was taking care of generating all the money and business, and I was in charge of making sure those seats at the back of the room were filled up. So Jim has had tremendous success in network marketing. I struggled incredibly in network marketing, and that's kind of while I was successful in other things, because I had a very successful speaking career, it always bugged me why it was that I struggled so much in network marketing. And that began the research of how it is that smart, capable people can be completely aware of a few simple things that if they did them consistently would result in tremendous life changes. And yet for some reason, they can't find themselves able to take those consistent actions. And that was the question that started this whole 4 years of research and the books and the programs and the websites and the apps and everything else.
And I would look at people like George, Kevin, and go, my goodness gracious, if he could just get focused, or if he could find the why that would make him cry, or a reason to work, I can't imagine how good he would be. And little did I know that we just weren't wired the same way. What came very easy to me, uh, whether it was a title that I wanted to achieve or a contest that I wanted to win, I would look at that and go for it. I mean, I just did the work necessary to, and I mean, some days it wasn't good, some weeks they weren't good, some months they weren't good, but I could see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I just persevered and until I reached the goal, which we call in the book delayed. I had the ability to delay gratification, which I thought everybody had. So when I found a person that with George's caliber that didn't do the work or didn't do the work required to get there, I would just, I hate to say it, but it just move on, go to the next person.
Right.
Well, little did I know that we just weren't wired the same way, George.
And when Jim says we're wired differently, that's not a metaphor. That is a literal truth that we can see now in brain studies, brain scans, functional MRIs. Someone like Jim makes decisions for the most part in a different part of his brain than I do. And that he makes it in the prefrontal cortex, which is the executive functioning portion of the brain, which has the ability to look at any action and see what it's going to lead to. And that's the kind of part of the thinking that's going to lead you to long-term success, because you're going to take those incremental steps because you know where it's leading you. And I was thinking back in a much more primal part of my brain that evaluates on, is it easy, is it safe, is it pleasurable? And a lot of activities that are necessary to build a business, especially in network marketing, I would look at it and the activity, whether it was picking up a phone and calling somebody or reaching out to somebody or whatever it was, the fact is it was neither easy, it didn't feel safe, and it was certainly not pleasurable. So I wouldn't take the action. And that was the biggest differentiator. That's the thing that put Jim on stage and in the top 10 money earners, and it kept me in the back of the room.
The reason I'm grinning, excuse me, is both of these guys are super successful, mind you. In your own respects, ridiculously successful, actually. So if any of us could aspire to the success, it would be awesome.
But let me just say this, though, because that's a really great point, is that there are very few people that are pure 80% or pure 20%. The example that we use is Oprah. She, as a business person, 20%, she's awesome. But in the area of taking care of her health and weight and all that, that's been a struggle for her entire life. That's an 80% part of her. And that's something that comes into play here. So you can be a tremendous leader. You can be extremely successful in one part of your business or one part of your life, but there can be another part. And Jim is a perfect example of this. There can be another part of your life that you really struggle with. And you can't understand why the same techniques and strategies that work so well over here utterly fail you over here. And it's literally because the decisions are made by a different part of the brain that doesn't respect the systems and strategies that work in another area. Sorry to interrupt.
It's like the marshmallow effect.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Which I assume, I believe from the notes, Jim passed, George didn't.
Oh my God, yes.
Okay. I remember this. So, anybody from, that era, anybody with a marshmallow test, I'm going to leave a couple things so you buy the book, because I think that's important. But it is super cool. And there's a lot of people out there who will realize instantly what basket you fall into. And it's just a fun thing. So I'll leave that for the book of the folks that download or, buy the book. I like the hard copy myself, so you can dog ear the heck out of it and circle some things. One of the things that I took away from the original book and then also took into the secondary book for network marketers. And I know I've been hard, we were joking earlier, on network marketing and some of kind of like the low dollar things that are out there recently, because I think a lot of people are spinning wheels. People who get involved with good network marketing companies that have been around for a long time with good trainers end up doing well because they have realistic expectations about what it is that they're doing. So, and I think anybody who's going to get really good at this needs to get the tools and functions from the people that have been there, 30-year backgrounds. So I have to look up to somebody. I look up to you guys. I have several different things that I try to motivate myself with. And that was my next, question. Beyond backgrounds, one of the things that struck me, and one of the reasons also I was grinning is both of these are tongue in cheek, written, by the way, and in the best way possible, because the foibles of you must know each other so well. To stay in a hotel room must be a nightmare for the two of you.
Too well.
To travel with her, on a plane.
I refuse to be in the same room with him.
I can only imagine, because in the book it's absolutely clear how well you guys know each other, and to a fault and the best fault possible, which aligns you to understand who you are, and are you of the 20 or 80 or floating in between. I found I float definitely in between. I found I was definitely more of an 80 than anything else. I, like George, had struggled over a lot of different things and was always finding certain patterns that I was doing, that if I had only changed those patterns over not a short period of time, but a consistent period of time, and it took time to really realize and see some of these changes. We were also joking earlier that I am addicted to, you're not supposed to do more than one element of this book. I've done multiple elements of the book, and they're all helping. So I wanted, if you could explain the difference between motivation and actual consistency, and why being consistent, being motivated and going all over the place, and I'm working in front of the computer, and I'm here 12 hours a day, but being consistent is something extremely different. And I want to stress this before they answer, is this is not designed to eliminate things. This isn't a quit smoking book. This isn't a get less fat. This isn't get rich. This is get it right. Learn new tools that are going to help you over all of these different things by doing some very simple steps. And I was amazed at what I'm 170 days in, and the library, that I've been able to build on a couple of these different things is amazing. I would never be able to go back and do that in 1 week or something along those lines. And the thought process is different. So how do you differentiate between the two? So I stopped talking. And why is that different?
Well, I mean, go ahead, Jim.
I was just going to say, George, I think this would probably be really appropriate to explain our ER system, because, I mean, I think that's the crux of our book.
Well, we're going to have to get really deep then, and just to answer your question, Kevin, about the moment. And we don't contrast motivation and consistency as much as I would contrast motivation and momentum.
Okay.
And that's and the thing is, we talk about, and so there's so many motivational speakers, motivational books, motivational meetings. Everybody comes out and they're motivated, and that's just it's a transitory feeling. And like all feelings, it dissipates, it goes away. And whereas momentum is just taking an action on a daily basis and winning that day, and feeling the pride that comes from knowing where the direction that you want to go, which was what Jim was mentioning. We really, for 80% of the people, traditional goals don't work. And so we came up with a workaround or a hack that actually works for people like me. That I set long-term goals forever and never hit them, ever. So what I had to do, because a goal is nothing more than just the embodiment of delayed gratification, and I'm driven by instant gratification, then what I had to do is I had to find something that would allow me to let my essential nature work and still take me in the direction that I wanted to go. And that's the ER goals. We don't, it's like if you were, for years, I was going to lose weight. I was going to be in better shape, lose weight. And I set all those really hard, firm goals. I'm going to weigh 175 pounds on this date, and, all those traditional goals. And when I actually started putting into play the philosophy that we talk about, that went out the window. And my goal was an ER goal. I want to be fitter. I want to be healthier. I want to be stronger. And the beauty of an ER goal is that when I get up in the morning and I go to the gym, I come back from the gym and I can make a solid case that I hit my goal that day. I am stronger. I am healthier and fitter. And what I've done is I've allowed my insatiable desire for instant gratification to win. I won the day. And I'm not looking at some far off goal that I'm trying to reach. I'm hitting it every day. And that allows someone like me who's driven by instant gratification to just go day after day after day. And in fact, I went 531 straight days of working out.
Wow. Wow.
And I never had done anything like that ever in my past. And I did it by never trying to work out that long. I never had any intention of working out a year or a year and a half. That would have been a ridiculous goal for me. And I wouldn't have believed it. And because I wouldn't have believed it, I wouldn't have done it. All I did was, I'm going to work out today.
Right.
Just going to win today.
And you felt good about yourself every day, George.
Yeah.
You accomplished something every single day. I was fitter, right? I was fitter.
Yeah.
I was healthier. And
at some point in time, you hit momentum. At some point in time, it becomes easier to work out than not to work out. When I hit the place in where I became what I would wake up in the morning and I no longer questioned. The question was not, am I going to work out today? The question was, what workout am I going to do? And so you can take that to any part of your life. If you're like a network marketing business, the question is no longer, am I going to reach out to somebody to talk to about my business or opportunity? The question becomes, who am I going to reach out to talk to and by changing that question and hitting that momentum, now one of them has a 50% chance of failure. Am I going to? And then when you get specific about what I'm going to do, that has a 100% success rate. And that's when you hit momentum. And that becomes
also changing where you're making your decisions from.
Absolutely.
And you guys talk about, these books are deeper than I'm letting on. And there's a lot of different details about how your brain functions when you're making decisions and how you can change these things over the period of time. So just to recap super quickly, it's not, am I going to work out today? It's what workout am I going to do? That can even lead to different variations. And, now I'm going to run a marathon or whatever it might be. Same thing, is attributable to folks that are going to do it tomorrow. You stress on this in the book, that just start. If you're watching this video, just do it today. Click the link below, buy the freaking book, get it shipped off. I'd buy two because it makes for great read. And then basically just follow this very simple pattern. They also have a great app behind this, by the way,
right,
that we didn't mention, that is part of this, that really helps keep you very consistent and reminds you of being consistent. And that's also very extremely helpful. In the first week or so, I didn't actually know about the app, and then I became more friendly with the website, and then saw more of the programs that you guys have for people on the back end of this. And I just thought it was tremendous. And I thought that breaking folks down and letting them know where you kind of fit in and how you can break some of these patterns in a very different way, as far as going on a diet and et cetera, adding. And what I did find, I'm glad you guys corrected me, forget motivation, the momentum aspect. After I was about 100 days in, I did start to feel the momentum, because the building blocks, the foundation stone, all the work had been done. Now it was working the system that I had put in place. And then the system started to help me work it, and then it became organic. Now I'm actually seeing the results from it on a regular basis just by doing it. And I'm on muscle memory at this point with my 4 different very consistent chains. And I don't actually even think about it anymore. I actually would think about it if I didn't do those things during the period of the day, that something would feel wrong, that I didn't complete a goal or something. I don't know. But
we don't recommend, Kevin, that people do 4 or 5 chains at a time. I mean, you're a 20%er. You probably can handle more than 2 or 3 at a time. But for the most part, we really recommend doing 1 chain. And if it's in the world of network marketing, it's as simply as, you don't set a goal of recruiting 5 people this month. You set a goal of reaching out to 2 people today, or talk to 1. That's something you can do on a daily basis. You get done. You don't even need our app. You can just grab a calendar and just mark an X on the calendar that you've completed, 1 link in your chain. So we highly recommend just one one consistency chain when you're first starting out. I mean, you can intensify it later on, obviously.
I became very addicted very quickly. I have to say that like I said, I abused the situation. I got hold of the book, and then I did the one, and the one was working out so well. I did add a couple chains. I did mention that.
Sure you did.
Full disclosure before this that I am horrible with this because I love it, and I really recommend it so highly to people to not only read it. You know, one of the things they say, you know, forget crypto. You know, consistency is the new currency, and that really, you know, is you know, a great mantra. I think of so many people are going to see this video that made some sort of New Year's resolution, or I'm going to start that tomorrow. Almost none of you have done it. Looking straight in the camera, and I know none of you have done it. Most people are saying, how do I? What method do I follow to get there from somebody who's done that? Simple book. I forgot how much this cost. It was like 20 bucks.
No, it's not. It's like 12 or something, I think.
12 bucks. So great is 12 bucks you'll spend at any point in time. We will have links below and a banner. And on Shop at BizOp, you'll also see this in a transcript article with both of the covers that you can click and buy. We've never done this before, but I do believe that if you read these, you would understand how to change some of the behaviors that folks are struggling with. And part of it is struggling with a home-based business. You know, I'll liken it, and one of the things I'll end with is everybody's always seen the entrepreneur, almost a meme where, you know, it never goes in a straight line and always expect all these other things. Yeah, it's wonderful. You can smooth out that line by a thought process. And if you get a plan in place beforehand and you stay very consistent with that plan, a lot of those squiggles tend to smooth out along the lines, and you never have to reach those crazy parts because you know, you have a plan, you know what you're doing, you know what your goals are, and you know that you're reaching them. Once you reach the momentum point, then you can start, you know, really either thinking about, you know, new, I don't want to say new chains or multiple chains, but new ways to start thinking about things. And that's the number one thing that I took away from this book is how, and I want you to buy the book, but the 20%er versus the 80%, I really want to get consistent with 20% because that will help altruistically my bottom line. I'm a salesperson by trade. That's what I enacted originally into this so I could be better at that. But I found being better at just being consistent was the first step in the entire process, and even understanding what that meant was a great thing. So I discovered this via LinkedIn. Love you guys for it. I've wanted to get you guys both together for quite some time. So this has been special for me. Is there anything that you wanted to share with you know, any viewers as they you know, come across the video?
I actually would. If you're listening to this and thinking, you know, this consistency thing is a thing I've struggled with my whole life. And if you're like me and you felt a lot of shame and disappointment in yourself because you just couldn't understand why you couldn't get yourself to do the thing that you wanted to do, I just want to say that that's not a character flaw. That's not a weakness of your will. It's something much, much deeper than that. And I will tell you that if you will allow this to work like it has for me and all the other people that I know that have had challenges with the consistency and that overcome it, you can beat this. So the time for beating yourself up and feeling shame is over with. And on the flip side, if you're a person that just kind of naturally is consistent like Jim, and you're just sick of pulling your hair out, trying to find a way to really get through to people that are consistency challenged, you're going to come away with the tool to be able to actually help people like me. So
thank you for that.
You bet.
Well said, George.
Well, guys, thank you very much. Again, anybody that wants to purchase, either hit up Shop at BizOp. You'll see it on the homepage. And also, this is available on Amazon and widely downloadable, I believe even to Kindle. Isn't that right?
Kindle. And we've actually, the new audio version of the book is coming out here really quick. So,
oh, that's right. You guys had just completed that recently, right?
Right. Yeah, last month.
So I'm big on audiobooks. As you know, we have a whole section on that. So I'll pop that in there and make sure that we let people know that they can download it that way as well. So again, thank you guys. We're going to do your next one out. I'm sure there's going to be a next one out. I would love to revisit with you guys and keep up the chain, so to speak.
Great.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Bye.
All right.